think is Putin's ultimate goal? You know, his ultimate goal...
Brace yourself for one of the most repulsive comments ever made by Hillary Clinton. And why is it repulsive? Wait until you hear what she says. It's just... So for 2 years now, the Democratic Party, led by Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, the lunatics on the left, all the Democrats, venomously blaming Russia for their fault, right? It's an old, tired fucking story, right? About Russia, right? So Hillary Clinton is at Ozfest, a rather cool event, right? She's wearing a bathrobe or whatever she's wearing. She's wearing this big blue fucking, shower curtain, right? And what she says is extremely revealing, right? We'll watch it together, but it's extremely revealing. I'm only going to play a minute of it because I can't really... her voice and her fucking face goes right through me. So I'm only going to give it a minute. And then, but what she says in this minute is fascinating. Now, here's the thing, right? For whatever it's worth, the Democrats have been building up this conspiracy theory against Russia, right? And in a military way, right? Where that's dangerous. Like you could say, oh, Putin's a jerk off and Putin's a, and Trump's a Putin puppet. But when you start saying that it's a danger, that it's some sort of attempt to overthrow our government, you've technically lost your mind. You've entered into an arena of scary and because you're using the military. You're especially Hillary Clinton, who was the Secretary of State, is mobilizing or suggesting to mobilize our military against Russia for a fictitious act of stealing our election, when all along all of the evidence in the record shows that it was in fact her lead, her doing, the Democrats following to create this illusion of Russia. But what she says again is fascinating. See, I've always said that Russia is not an enemy. It never was, was Cold War, but now it's a competitor. And you have to listen very closely, because let's just listen a little bit and I'll come back.
What do you think is Putin's ultimate goal? His ultimate goal is to dominate his neighborhood again, to dominate what used to be Eastern Europe behind the so-called Iron Curtain, to dominate Central Asia, to have a foothold in the Middle East, which is a large part of what his support of Assad in Syria is intended to do, to break up NATO, to break up the EU, to sow as much dissension and instability inside democracies.
Wow. So what she's saying is this. She's saying that Putin, right, is a guy, a leader of a nation who wants to take back his neighborhood. He wants to break up NATO. Look, he's right? Hillary Clinton is actually right in what she's saying. She's actually saying that Putin wants to sow distension within these democracies, right? And that's true, but it's absolutely necessary, because the democracy that Hillary Clinton is talking about is not we the people. What she's talking about is we the oligarchs, right? She's so detached from what regular people think and feel and understand, and what the American... She even said it in her own words. I don't know what where is America at right now, right? So she's so lost. But again, Hillary Clinton hasn't had an original idea in her head in 50 years. Everything she's saying is a regurgitated talking point of the Democratic Party, who's financed by the oligarchy, who's financed by big business corporations to get out there and protect the status quo, right? Please understand this. This is so important. It's so important to understand. Why do these people say these things? Are they stupid? Are they dumb? No, they're not fucking stupid. They're hired guns, right? Hillary Clinton, see, the corporations, the 10,000, 15,000 corporations, all have footing in the global market, right? They sell shit here, they sell shit there, they sell guns, they sell bombs, the military industrial complex, the pharmaceutical industrial complex. You know, even now, you know, Monsanto is out there selling their own brand of seed in Africa. Like, if you don't use their seed and fertilizer, they'll take your land and and then they have a copyright on fruits and vegetables. It's outrageous what big business is. Our big business, the big business that started here, the corporations, it's astounding the breadth and reach of what they're doing. And that's fine, right? But don't use our military as backing, as a way. See, because if the military pulls back, right? If the military doesn't give these organizations, these governments, these corporations cover, they can't do what they're doing. They can't function. And so what Hillary Clinton is saying in this little piece is that Putin, along with Trump, see it. They see that the corporations have a stranglehold of this new world, this idea of the new world order. What was TPP, right? The Trans-Pacific Partnership, where corporations would come together, right, and create an alliance that is above the United States government, is above United States government taxation, judicial, the United States judicial, meaning that they can fuck over whoever they want and there's absolutely no consequence. They have their own kangaroo court, their own judge, their own jury. That's what the TPP was about. And that's what the globalist movement is. It's led by billionaires, guys like Gates, guys like, Buffett, guys like Jeff Bezos, guys like Lloyd Blankfein at Goldman Sachs, right? It's a billion, the Koch brothers, the Waltons. It's a billionaire idea that we are deeply invested in the status quo, the way our corporations make money at the expense of everybody, right? We're the only ones who profit from it, right? And we're obliged to protect that, right? You could also say I want to coin a phrase that we know of the military industrial complex, the pharmaceutical industrial complex, but also the new phenomena is the media industrial complex, where corporations now own these media organizations, right? And but anyway, back to Hillary Clinton at the very cool OZY Fest, right? She's basically, she either is the stupidest person on earth, or the scarier part of it is that she actually believes to some degree some of it. Or does she?
Well, this is to Russia. This is, without question, our number one geopolitical foe.
After all, you don't call Russia our number one enemy unless you're still stuck in a Cold War mind warp.
Governor Romney is mired in a Cold War mindset. He acts like he thinks the Cold War is still on.
He's even blurted out the preposterous notion that Russia is our number one geopolitical foe.
It's somewhat dated to be looking backwards.
The statements that Governor Romney makes show little understanding of what is actually going on in the 21st century.
It's a really curious statement given that the Cold War has been over for some time.
A throwback to the Cold War. I mean, we work with Russia all the time.
He's not a dumb man, but he said something that was clearly dumb.
It is an antiquated worldview.
Is he trying to play Ronald Reagan here or what? What's he up to?
The 1980s are now calling to ask for their foreign policy back.
Is Hillary Clinton stupid? Is Hillary Clinton a fucking idiot? Or is Hillary Clinton one of the smartest shills in the world? I don't know. Let's listen a little more.
It's not just American elections or American politicians that he has gone after. He's done the same thing in Europe. And so he wants to undo the architecture of the post-World War II world.
Undo the architecture of the post-World War II world. Yes. Yes, because, right, it's not necessarily, that's not actually true. But what Putin and Trump's vision, right, is that the globalists have such a stranglehold on the global markets that they must be stopped. And they're using, up until now, Trump should rescind even more of that protection that corporations get, because they don't pay, they don't reciprocate. All they do is they take the money and they dump it in tax tax havens. They ship the jobs overseas. They're sucking the lifeblood out of the American economy, right? And they want fucking military cover in addition to that. So that's the Red Scare, right? That's what it's all about. You have to, Trump sees this corporatist stranglehold, though he probably, if he had any sense, he would have raised their tax rate, not decreased it, and then would have held them to the taxation that they're supposed to be held to. But Trump didn't do that. So there's something unclear, and I don't want to believe that Trump is playing 4D chess with everybody. He's not, right? He's not. He's just leading with his gut, right? So the Democrats, do they really believe what Hillary Clinton is saying?
He wants to undo the architecture of the post-World War II world.
Do they believe all this shit? Do they really believe that Putin and Russia are trying to sow distension in democracies all across the world?
To sow as much dissension and instability inside democracies.
No, of course they don't believe it. What they believe and what they know to be true is that if Trump doesn't follow along with the status quo, the corporations in this country will then start to recede. And yeah, there is a power vacuum created through that recession, right? But you could stop it. You could stop it by taxing them and keeping the money in the country. There's a lot of ways to go. But do the Democrats really believe that Russia and Putin are that bad? Do they really believe what Hillary Clinton is saying?
Sow as much dissension and instability inside democracies.
Is it true, or is it just something made up because they got caught stealing an election? They blame the Russians, and they want NATO as a military force in Europe. They want to keep the EU just the way it is because Goldman Sachs owns half of it. JP Morgan owns the other half. All the banks have so much interest in keeping the EU just the way it is, right? Keeping everything just the way it is. And anything that challenges that, anything at all that challenges that, right, is a danger to their status quo, to their pocket. Not us, not the regular, not American people, right? We don't gain anything from any of this. Right? All we do is lose. When our corporations expand and profit globally, we lose. We lose because we're giving them military back. We're giving them subsidies through our tax money. We're giving them cover. We're giving them soil to work on. We're giving them American ingenuity, and we get nothing in return because they've gotten so big. They're monopolies. They're oligarchies. They're controlled by a handful of people. And that is and always will be the problem in this country until we change it. It's not a social issue. It's not about, it is about corruption, but you have to understand where the corruption comes from. It comes down from the corporations that feed it through with money. It's an avalanche of money.
To sow as much dissension and instability inside democracies